welcome to Indigenous Voice. Today is the 21st of March. First, I would like to say thanks to our volunteer staff and Shaw staff who make this show possible. In this part, we are going to talk with Still Qualis from the camp, matriarch camp outside John Horgan. Welcome to the show. Please tell me about the whole story of the camp.
Okay, we're a matriarch camp. We started in October 13th. We've been living in a tent since then, outside John Horgan's and the DFOs. And basically, what the matriarch camp does is we hold space for the people that are fighting the fish farms that are on the water. They're in isolated communities, and we live in an urban setting, so we have access to doing different actions and whatnot to keep this issue open. There's 1/3 of the fish farms is in the Broughton Archipelago, which is a concentration of 22 in that small area. And these have been in our area for about 30 years now, and our people have been fighting it that long. They've had no permission to be in our water. And this is a foreign corporation, Marine Harvest, that is from Norway. And in Norway, we already know, they have all the facts and all that information on the disaster that happened with their fish farms, open net fish farms in the water. And they've started moving over to land farming. And yet Canada allows them to come into this country and literally pollute our waters. Our salmon, we're at a critical state right now. Many of us have gone 4 years without a full salmon in our freezer. And so our job primarily is working with the Namgis and the Musqueam, Zawadinot people, and all the people that are fighting the fish farms and wanting these out of our waters. And we started the matriarch camp because John Horgan went up to Argutsi in Alert Bay in Yalise. And Argutsi is our big house where all our laws come from. And this man sat in our house and dishonored our people in many ways by stonewalling them and always constantly putting forward the fact that the fish farms and the leases, the permits were going to be due in June. But what we're finding is they're still restocking these fish farms, and it takes 2 years to maturity. So in that, just seeing it that way, we can kind of be assured of the fact that Marine Harvest somehow knows that it's a go-ahead for them to keep doing this. And I've been arrested 3 times. The last arrest, I was beat by 2 sheriffs in the basement of the courthouse in Victoria. And,
What they did during the arrest?
They threw me down and they pinned me down, and one officer put his knee in my chest and then said to me quietly, "Now I'm going to put it on your throat." And he put it on my throat. And it was for those few seconds of time, that I thought, there was a possibility, of not being able to walk out of there again. And it's a risk that, I'm willing to take because the salmon is everything to our people. If there is no salmon, who are we?
Exactly. It's not the issue, it's about contamination or food. It's about way bigger. I mean, you just told me in the way here, without salmon, you are, as a people, your existence, it's become like in the air.
Yeah.
I mean,
it saddens me to even think of the day that I could possibly sit in Argutsi during a potlatch and eat no salmon, and for our people, I mean, this is our passion. No one of us is going to step down. We've been told that we possibly have maybe 3 years left to save our salmon.
So for the salmon, people left without salmon in the end. So, really, this is a form of genocide.
Yes, it
When you
is.
take people's source of food or something, it's relate deeply to their culture and roots. It's not similar when you erase their language,
Yeah.
similar when you erase their culture. It's the same thing.
Well, with animals too, we have a different relationship with the animals than mainstream society does. And like the salmon to us, they're part of our culture. They're our dance. They're our songs. They're our socialization even. Like every summer, people travel home great distances to prepare fish in huge families. The whole community would do it at once. And this is the very first interruption of that socialization that is happening to our people. And it's, um, it's another form of genocide, just like quantum and all those other things.
You just remind me of the asbestos, by the way. Do you remember when Canada still send asbestos to India and many other countries in the world? When you mentioned about Norway, forbidden this kind of fish farming, but Canada is still doing it in the water.
Yeah, still do
And
get
so, is this a big industry? Like, we know that Canadian mining business, other destructive business go around the world, do a lot of damage. Meanwhile, we
Yes.
have our media say nothing about that. Is this kind of a business doing the same thing all around the world, or?
Yes, it is. It is. The fish farm industry is huge. They're talking about putting in more, and it's like, and at a great cost to the natural species of that territory. Anytime you bring a foreign species in, you're messing with the natural laws of life. And so there will be consequences. There always will be. If this is the route that we're going to allow life to unfold, then we're all in trouble. This thing with the fish farms, it's not just an Indigenous issue. It's a worldwide issue. It's a global issue. And the fish farms, just like, the golf courses and stuff like that, why they have to put it on, what little land and territory that we have left. You know,
Now you told me something really was weird. When the RCMP came to you, they want to move your camp to another place.
yes,
And what
yes.
that remind you of?
They brought me a map and they showed me a small piece of chunk of dirt that was Crown land. This is when we were at DFO. And literally what it really reminded me of was being put on the reservation again on the smallest patch of land that has nothing, just gravel and dirt, doesn't even have any earth on it. And that's what that reminded me of. It's just like, what's being done in the water, a lot of it is illegal, and and in a lot of cases, having to fight this corrupt government has to be done on different levels. Where, yes, we're making people feel uncomfortable, and that's just what has to happen. For everybody to open their eyes and realize that this world is going into a real crisis. The entire world is, and these fights that we have right now are like, they're fights for survival. There's fights for survival for our people. That's going to be the new educating is going to have to be on everyone learning how to survive and doing it in a good way, to be really true human beings with each other. Then there would be no need for this greed that's happening. That's destroying so much because of greed. Right now, the Namgis people have just finished their second day of court. They have asked for an injunction against marine harvest from restocking swamps and fish farms. And the court case adjourned today, and by Friday, they'll know if they were successful in being able to stop marine harvest. Marine Harvest is a huge corporation owned by Norway, and the other industry is Mitsubishi. How do you say that? The car one.
Mitsubishi.
Yes. Yeah, they own Cermak, which is up in Nanaimo that delivers smolts to the fish farms that are on the water.
Wow. How many? You mentioned a number of 100 of them. Is that correct?
Yes, there's over 100 of them, and about 30 of them are right in the Brownton archipelago, concentrated in one area.
When did you start your camp?
We started on October 13th. We had an action that happened outside John Horgan's office. And I really didn't say anything. I just kind of kept it really quiet. And when the event was over, I just said that I was staying. So, yeah.
Any response from Horgan office or?
Absolutely none whatsoever from Horgan. The last 2 times I was arrested, there was somebody that DFO was putting forward that I could possibly talk to. But I've tried to make it very, very clear that we are holding space for our people, and it isn't about us. And these DFO, whatever, they have to meet with the matriarchs and the hereditary chiefs and the INAC chiefs as well, the ones that want to be involved in the process. Then, yeah.
But you said already John Horgan met with the chiefs.
Yes, he did. That's when everything happened. That's when the chiefs said that was it. Like right now, they're at the point of a lot of them saying there's no more time to talk, And so this last injunction that they're doing, I think, is something that they're hopeful for, but. We'll see what happens with that.
What about mainstream media? Were they interested to see your camp outside? John Horgan come and say hi to you, or?
Mainstream media has been pretty well absent. The one story that was covered was when we were at the DFO, and the 2 women that were there, myself and Shauna Green, was there, and they never talked to the 2 of us that they were writing the story about at all. So
okay.
yeah.
But in general, anything when you look around mainstream media, anything about fish farming, explaining
really.
what the issue, what the problem with that?
Not really. It's pretty absent, and I think a lot of us are leaning more towards social media now. I mean, like with Standing Rock, the same situation. It didn't become global until mainstream media ran with it. And then there are a few brave, outlets that will, run a story. But basically, it's been a blackout on everything.
You seem a fighter. What did you learn personally from the Standing Rock and the whole issue of North Dakota?
What I basically learned from that, and it happens quite a bit, is that the momentum has to carry on, and it's really hard sometimes for big groups that do that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, as a matriarch group, we're very small, and primarily our goal is. We try and do one big action at least a month that involves most of the time being jailed. Every time that, like I've been arrested 3 times, and basically I refused to sign any of the papers for a promise to appear or any of that. And each time I was released pretty quickly except the 3rd time. And that's when they held us overnight, and then the next day was when the beating happened, and they also put shackles on my leg and handcuffed my hands as well.
Okay, and I heard that they were yesterday again in the camp, or before yesterday.
Yes. There was an incident that happened at camp over somebody that was visiting. I guess they had words with somebody. It wasn't anybody from inside the camp, but the RCMP were called, and from there, the owner we have been there for, I would say, about 3 months altogether, with just one break with DFO. And we've never had a problem with him. He's never wanted to come down and meet with us, so obviously he's never had a problem with us either. But after this incident happened, things kind of changed, and the police were called in. And I was handed a letter that said that I had to leave immediately, or they were going to start throwing our stuff in a dumpster. And so I kind of panicked a little bit, then I got myself together, and right now it's awaiting a game, well, a game to them, I guess, where I'm trying to get them to allow us to stay there until April 14th, when we were planning on leaving anyway. We're moving the matriarch camp up island to be in the Sayward area, to be at a critical point where Marine Harvest and them do their loading of the boats, and it's one of the areas that they're, I'll say it, most vulnerable. So, right now, the owner of the building won't be back until Friday, and somehow I've managed to get the manager of it to wait for word from the owner. So that's where we are right now. And I have said the only concession I would give is April 1st if we couldn't get to the 14th.
Satzel, Qualis, we have left like a minute or minute and a half. What do you like from people to do?
I'd like people to phone their MLAs, and then for our situation right now, to phone the peace officers of the Langford police station. And there are a few on my page. You can look it up, and a few suggestions of who else to phone of this particular place that we're in right now, with dealing with a possible eviction. So, yes.
Bless you. And Satzel, Qualis, do you have anything else to say?
Yes, the other thing I'd like to say too is that I've done protocol with the people of the Songhees, the Esquimalt, and where Horgan's office is, that's unceded land, and I have permission from them to do the work that I'm doing in their territory.
And I think you have the right to be inside that office, and Horgan maybe need to be outside in the camp.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for thank Satzel, Qualis.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for
Okay,
being,
thanks.
and hopefully we hear from you soon more about what happened in the camp. Thanks for watching this part of Indigenous Voice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me shake hands first. Hello everyone, and welcome to Indigenous Voice. Today is March 21st. First, I would like to say thanks to the volunteer and Shaw staff who make this show possible. In the first part, we have with us Elder Kowalinsuk. Kowalinsuk,
Yes.
from the Sayout First Nation. And I'm glad you correct me, Elder Kowalinsuk. Kowalinsuk.
Yes.
And we are going to talk about a project was done between Bender Island and the Sayout First Nation called the Youth Leadership Project.
Leadership Project.
Elder Willard, why the project in the first place started?
It was started because some of the, like our people were getting the injustice for our people were treated, and their land was taken away, and on Pender Island we got all the names in the First Nations language. Like Pender Island is called Stayets. And all the reefs and all the fishing spots and all the hunting spots were also taken away from us. And so we're trying to get the youth, just to make it a little shorter, is the youth, they were like 10 and 12 years 12 years old, to
reconnect.
Yeah, connect to the First Nations teachings and education. and to bring, awareness to our, our other colonization education and the First Nations education, and we're trying to get our bridge, the two bridges connecting to the First Nations education and our colonization education, and we're trying to, establish, something to reconnect and, to the two educations.
And to bring back the proper name for the land.
And
for
they could, like, nobody knows the story about our people where they were imprisoned, while they're for doing nothing. And they were doing their spiritual potlatches, and that was outlawed. And so our people were jailed in, in the jails for doing this, for doing the potlatches, and that was, they never did nothing wrong. They just did experience their own potlatches, their own religion, and their own connection to God. And the government, outlawed that, so they imprisoned them in, like in Ocala, where people died every day in the prisons. And there was, I spent time in Ocala too myself, and that wasn't very nice in there. It was, our people suffered tremendously, and our elders were put in there, and they died in there, and a lot of them died in there, and
so this is kind of...
And so we have to really, sort of, this wasn't in our colonization education, so we would like to bring some of the things that happened to our people
in the history.
into, the history of our own people, what happened to them, all the blankets, the TB blankets, they suffered diseases from the blankets, and smallpox, and any other diseases that there were, and nothing was ever done about that. So, to bring awareness to that, to those things that were not, mentioned in there, like when Columbus came over with those blankets, they don't mention that in these. They just mention Columbus coming over here, but they don't mention the blankets.
The whole process of the genocide, which
Genocide,
took centuries and centuries. Actually, so one of the big school in San Francisco made an estimate. It is around 112 million people died through the genocide here on this land.
Yes.
So I know when you're talking about there is nothing mentioned of that, but how the kids were reacting, and I saw that they learn about smoking salmon and about learning again, as you mentioned, the proper name for the land, like as you mentioned, the Bender Island called
Stayas.
So how the kids were reacting to that?
And this is one of the first part of, like you say, that is there another project coming up? I would like to see one, but I haven't heard of another one. I don't think there is another one, but this part of the education where they get to know about places in Pender Island and what the people used to do, and how they lived, how they picked the herbal medicines, how they fished, how they collected the ducks and everything, and without the guns, they didn't need a gun for getting ducks, but they got ducks there, and they got the deer. They ran the deer off the cliffs, and they just harvested deer that way. And so, you know, this is what the young children were learning about in their education, and in this part of the this part of the project.
Or let's call it a recolonization, the process of recolonization.
Yeah.
Which, you mentioned before the show that Elder Mavis Underwood has a big role in this project. In the beginning with Paul from Bender.
Mavis and Paul, they were got their, and I guess the chief, Harvey Underwood, and they had this in, I don't know how long, previous years, but they mentioned it, and they decided to go ahead with the project. And then they put it together, and they finally put it together after a couple of years of, you know, delivery.
Started in 2016, I
Yeah,
think.
and then last year it happened, or last summer. And so I'm really proud to be a part of that. And there's, you know, it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was really enjoyable. The kids were super, and the Bender Island kids were super. And our own kids, they're really, you know, grown up, you know, sort of in that little time we had together, and we spent together, and we did a lot of traveling together and a lot of hiking together, and so there was, we did quite a bit in that short time, and it was very awesome.
Yeah.
And you probably could see it in the clips that we, you know, that we produced, I guess. And so-
It's started also in a clip. I noticed there is Earl Claxton Jr.
Yeah.
and John Bradley make kind of introduction about some. Would you please tell us about what?
It was well, one of the ways that the First Nations cooked their food, and that one was just a short way of where we did. I don't know. We did salmon that way, and the clams, and this time we didn't have the seafood, but we had other food that we could see on the clip. But the next one we're going to have is, you know, the seafood, you know, where we can have salmon, the clams, and all the seafood, and you know, that's the way they lived back in the day, and you know, they did that, and they lived like kings. They ate, you know, tremendous food, and you don't see that today hardly. And I would like to, you know, experience that one more time too. It was so awesome. Great. It was really
yes.
great. And not only that, you know, the school, Pender Island School, and we had some of the parents come in and some of the visitors come in to taste the food, and it shows on the clip what kind of food we had on the, and you know, buried in the sand and underneath the fire. And they buried in, you know, they had the seaweed and all the herbal stuff in there, and they put seaweed all over it, and they covered it up, and they baked it that way.
Great. I mean, one of the most wonderful thing I noticed in the clip, the memories of the kids of remembering the names, and the things, especially again about the names and the language, the new names they learn. Elder Willard, we are going to have to see this show, but we are out of time. But I hope we will have more chance in the future to come back and talk more about this project, hopefully with you and maybe Elder Mavis Underwood or Stephanie. So thanks again for being on the show.
Thank
and
you.
I hope our viewers will learn also from this clip.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go.
This one was referred to as a journey song. Me and my friends will sing this whenever the canoes are leaving, when all our friends are going. And I'm hoping we could all learn it. Here I go on my journey across this nation. Must be on my way. Good friend, hey, hey, This mountain here, up on the summit, there's the arbutus trees here. That's what the Sandwich people tied the rope to and the canoes. And one day, Squataw came. He had a schaya in his mouth. It's a stick. That was a signal that there was going to be land appearing. Where that Sandwich is what's emerging out of the water. They saw Bear Hill over here. So, but the biggest teaching we got from that story was that we have to treat everything with atoll, respect. Take only what you need, eat what you take, use what you take. Across this station must be on my way.
Like the houses are lifted or floating in the air, and so that's how Sayout got its name there. The Sandwich had great respect for salmon, and they ate lots and lots of salmon every day. My dad said that once in a while they would have something different, and he said that he would watch his mother or his aunt when they were making supper, what they reached for, and he said it was salmon. So,
Open the day with a prayer. It's our ways to start our work in prayer. You know, just our ways, the way we do, the way we carry our lives, the way we carry ourselves.
So Heavenly Father, we just give you all the praise and all the thanks and all the glory. And we thank you for the wonderful children, all the leaders here in the circle, Lord, Heavenly Father. And we thank you for all the teachers and the elders, Lord. And we thank you for the one that's going to be preparing the pictures and the films. And we're just going to be asking for a beautiful day and outcome of the whole scenario here, there, Lord God. We just praise you, give you back all the glory and all the love that we have in this place. And we're going to be showing the leadership, and we're not going to be followers, Lord, Heavenly Father. And we just give you all the thanks, Where'd you go?
Talacha, Malakwa, Asa Chuleta, Talatsan at Wasanich, say out, the main is Takbime, the Tain, the Slashemia, the Sila, Soquil, Suyat. My English name is Romain. I'm from Sayot, and my father was from Sayot. And my mother was Joyce. She was from Paquetrin. And on my dad's side, my grandfather was Victor, and he's from Sayot. And my grandmother, Suyat, was born and raised in Paquetrin.
I'm Ben, and my full name is Benjamin, or you can call me Benny if you're wanting to make a joke at me, right? My dad was born in Enderby, and my mom was born in Quesnel, but my great great grandparents lived on Armadale Road here on Stayas, and were one of the first families and settlers on the island of Stayas here, and he built chimneys, and you can still see his chimneys if you go up in the Port Washington area.
Hello, my name is Emily. The name that I carry is Tlala Kilokwa, and it means lady that sits among chiefs. My family comes from Seashelt and Alert Bay, in England and Germany. And I live here on Pender with my family and 2 children.
Colonization name is Willard, and my First Nations name is Kulakwansut, and Kulakwansut means to be raised to be a leader. But my grandfather was Pollock, that was his name, Philip Pelkey. He was one of the last runners, and before one of the last runners, that sent messages back and forth to the reservations or the communities. My mother was from Duncan, and my dad was from Sayot. He was a fisherman, and today I like to fish, and I like to run, and I like to do a lot of stuff.
So Willard, would you be willing to share your story with us?
Yes. So, my story is forgiveness, and when I went to the residential school, it was run by the missionaries and the priests, and a lot of them were pedophiles. So they sexually abused me when I was a young little, maybe younger than you, or maybe just as young. And I grew up. And I grew up hating for the way I was treated in the residential school. I was strapped, I was whipped, I was beaten. And, I was, and I didn't do nothing wrong. I figured I didn't do anything wrong, but, still I was being whipped and beaten and strapped. Just about every second day I was getting this harsh treatment and brutal treatment, and so I grew up like that, and I grew up and I had children. I had my own children, and was really, you know, unawares of, you know, love. And one day, I adopted 2 girls into my life, Candace and Sybil. And Sybil used to have I used to read stories. My wife said, go read the story to the children before bedtime. So I read stories to them. And right after the story reading, and those 2 little girls came rushing up to me and hugging me around the shoulders, and I used to push them away, and I said, don't ever touch me like that again, you know, because I wasn't used to being hugged and touched. And so it took me a long time to read to them again, but I read to them again, and the same thing happened. They come and rushed and hugged me again, and I kept on pushing them away, you know, get away from me. And read to them again, and they hugged me, and you know. And actually, you know, these hugs were starting to feel, you know, like they're melting me down. There's some kind of human being, and you know. So, you know, I began to accept these hugs from my little children. And the Creator came to me and asked me if I wanted to forgive all those people that sexually abused me and strapped me and whipped me and beat me in the residential school, and the way other people treated me. And I said, no, I don't want to forgive anybody, because I grew up hard. And shortly after that, I lost my little girl, and Sybil, she died, and I was crushed. I was broken up to a million pieces and laying on the floor, shattered. And the only person that ever came up to me and hugged me was Sybil, and she passed away. And I was crushed, and I didn't know what to do with myself anymore. And the voice came to me, do you want to forgive all these people? No? And I looked around, and I said, yeah, I'll forgive all those people. So I forgave everybody. And there was like somebody came and kneeled down on the ground and picked all these people, all these pieces, and formed together again, and formed me, and put me all back together again. And here I am, and you know, wherever I can hug a lot of people because of those hugs I got from my little girl. And she came up and hugged me, and you know, it feels good to be, you know, to be alive, to be a human being, and to, you know, show a lot of leadership that, you know, from where we have been, you know, and to where we are going now, to all the young kids that can, you know, be a leader and not.
Here I go on my journey across this nation. Must be on my way.
Yeah, you gotta do this. Tight hip. Oh, there you go.
Sounded like an elephant.
Yeah! Do it again. You'll only get better. You want to try it, Kara? Go for it, Kimberly. There's no harm. Oh, you gotta try this again. it.
Let's go.
I don't know. That sounds like Chewbacca. Try it, try it. It's okay to mess up.
I don't know why, but whenever I go, I sound like a bear sometimes.
Do it.
Like, okay.
No, we can't do it. I'll do it. Oh. Wicked, you got it.
He hasn't tried it. Oh, no.
Tighter lips, tighter lips. Yeah.
I think we're getting. That's why that hot made his nest big on top of that pole there.
See if you're paying attention.
There's one right there.
Manila.
There was one buried in here that I kept watching.
Right here.
Yay! Oh, it's so pretty. Isaac, what's that? These things are so cool. Ripley, look at this shell.
Is that one right there?
That one's a top one. Oh, the one next to it.
Yeah, that one.
How do we know which kind we're looking for?
Did you guys find any?
Yeah, there's one a lot.
Did they? Sweet.
They're here. We jammed these two fossil shells into his skull. And, we turned them into a smile. And so you look at these two, you can see the two ears. Yeah. So you can see their two ears in there.
Pretty much every week we did a different trip. And what was the best trip in your mind? Like what sticks out in your mind?
I like going to the beach by the bridge.
Beach by the bridge.
Either the canoeing or Goldstream.
Okay, you're the first person to talk about Goldstream. Tell me about Goldstream. What did you like about it? What did we do?
It was fun walking through the water and stuff.
What did we do on that trip? Remind me.
We looked at Sam.
We looked.
Special to be going up the mountain and hearing all those stories and just having that nice view of all the place.
Do you remember any of the stories that you heard on the top of the mountain?
The one about not wasting the fish. You would have to use all of the fish, and then with the skeleton you would put it back into the water where it came from.
Yeah, that was crazy.
On Kinder, where we went down to that beach, that was really nice.
Like down by the bridge?
Yeah.
Why? What was cool about
I
that?
don't know, it was just like, we don't usually get to go down there. The water was really nice and clear.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Do you remember seeing the middens there?
Yes.
The big shells?
Yeah.
Trip. You're
To Goldstream when we got to see all the salmon in the water.
cool. It was cold that day.
It was really cold, but it was really fun.
Going on that hike up the mountain,
Yeah.
but it was hard.
It was hard. Remember? Yeah. What did you like? What did you take pictures of that stuck out in your mind?
I took pictures of the view from kind of the edge, but not quite.
Yeah.
So I went off.
Canoeing.
Canoeing. Cool. How come?
I really like canoeing, and especially canoeing over towards the island that we went to.
Yeah. Right on. Do you remember what we did when we got there?
We ate sushi and Romaine and Willard told stories.
What stories stuck out to you on this youth leadership project? Do you remember?
Like out of
Sure. Yeah.
I really like the Titan story and the Raven story.
The Raven story. Cool. What lessons from those stories? Why did they stick out? Like the Titan story. Why did you like that?
I don't know. I just like to look up at trees and see how, like, you can actually kind of see the arms.
Cool, man. What about any other, when we went to Sayo, what did you think about those trips?
Those were really fun. I like the mountain ones.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't raining.
Yeah.
What did you like about going up and up?
Well, it was really fun and how we learned about the trees shedding the leaves to let other trees grow.
Yes, what trip on Stayas? Did you like the canoe or the walk to the bridge?
I liked the canoeing.
Yeah.
The canoeing was really fun, and we got to hear the songs over the water.
Ooh.
Interesting. Probably learning how to like do that pit cook.
How to do the pit cook? What did you like about the pit cook?
All the steam that came out.
Yeah, John Bradley, he did a good job of explaining that. What did you think of the food that day?
Good.
Yeah, what did you eat? Do you remember what we ate?
Yeah, we ate fish and vegetables.
Yeah, it was really good. Remember we had the deer stew? You don't remember that? It was like a stew with the rice. It was really good.
that was good.
That was good. That was the deer.
I think one of the most memorable times in a bad way was probably getting very cold at Goldstream.
Yes.
I was very wet and cold.
Yeah, but you crossed that river. You were brave. You did that day.
With Kimberly on my back.
Kimberly was on your
Yeah,
back?
Kimberly was on my back. I've learned lots of new words that
Yeah.
I forget.
Like from the Sinchothan language?
I learned the Sinchothan word for bumblebee, but I forgot it.
The Sinchothan word for bumblebee?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what that is either.
Yeah.
Did you remember, like, what about the word for pender?
Pender is Stayas.
Yeah.
With a D, not a T.
With a D, not a T. That's right.
Stayas.
Yeah, for sure. And what did you notice about anything in Willard's story in particular that stuck out with you?
It was very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone and we've learned stories about the salmon and on the mountains we learned stories, and then we came here and we did some stuff. And we made the sweaters and we learned a bunch of words from their language.
Cool. And, you know, you think 5 years from now.
5 years.
Yeah, what will stick out in your mind, do you think?
Being able to do this and knowing all the people involved in it.
Just try it.
And do you think you did any friends that you met from this project? Like, was anybody that you really got along with?
Kind of got along with everyone.
Yeah, right on. That's awesome, Priscilla. Thank you. Have you met any new friends like here from Stayas? Like, who have you been hanging out with?
I've been hanging out with Isaac and Ada and all of the Pender.
Yeah, cool. And had you ever been to Pender before?
You can't be there because
No.
Never been here. Cool, man. No, what sticks out in your mind? Like, because we went.
Just coming here and like as soon as I walk in, everybody is like so friendly and they say, "Oh hi," within bunch of other.
Cool. And what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a blacksmith.
A blacksmith. That's cool. Hey, so I gotta say, you showed incredible leadership on this project. Incredible. You were awesome. And I really noticed you. I was really proud of like some of the leadership skills you showed on this trip. You showed some really. You were always listening, and you were always respectful. And I just want to tell you how appreciative I was of that. That was really cool of you, Abby. And you remember you gave us a tour of the village. Remember that second day? We drove around the van. Do you remember that? You're like, that's my house. Yeah. Like, because you live, your village, you live by a lot of your relatives, right? Yeah. Cool. Awesome, Abby. Well, thanks. Thanks for being a part of the project. It's really fun.